Okay. Okay. So, all right. Well, happy Thursday. Days are going by pretty quickly. I feel pretty good. So I got over whatever is the newest variant that's coming through. People are sick all over the place. I'm not. I mean, I hear about it on Facebook. Certain areas have more of a reaction to the climate change that's going on. All right. So we're in a great reset. We are in a biblical war of the old world and the new world. You heard about climate change and sustainability, and there's going to be obviously reconfiguration with everything. What do you mean by everything? Climate change is economic climate, geological climate, environmental climate, financial climate, even occupational climate change. Okay, so climate change is not just the weather. It is everything that makes up your life, your lifestyle, your belief systems, your culture, your politics, your religion, and your science. And war has been waged for many years. And it's not like war like you think, like 1776. I mean, yeah, that was a war that allowed people to practice their religion away from the king, the Brits, or whatever. Okay, so that was a war of revolution, a war of independence, whatever you want to call it. But there's also a war of evolution. Because remember, people get really stuck in the old ways. They get stuck in traditions. They get stuck in lifestyle, belief systems, cultures. And then they keep reproducing children who then represent the culture of the day. And if that culture isn't evolving, then they keep repeating history. Because that's basically what mitosis is. You keep repeating history until you tap into the uracil, which is an aspect of your DNA that allows for evolution and change and adaptation. Okay, so when you think about it, the government is the uracil in your body who is supposed to adapt and evolve. And so there is regulation within the body, mind, and spirit, and in your government and in your community. And so then when people don't want to change or evolve, then there is a war of resistance. However, the system has experienced and studied humans and studied what makes up humans, their politics, their fears, what makes up their desires or wants. I mean, psychology, psychiatry, the medical system, holistic system, all the different systems of programming people have studied humans and their cultures and their backgrounds, their DNA, even their blood types. Okay? And so then they understand also the power of fear, which power of fear is from ignorance. And so that's why it was so hard to get into colleges unless you were very well to do or you had some intellectual capability, some intellectual gift that the system was going to invest and give you a scholarship so you can utilize those gifts for the state. Okay? So when you keep people ignorant or make it hard to get information to where you have to jump through hoops, then whatever the culture is in your community will then be repeated. So if you didn't have access to resources like education, really, and you didn't have a good family and even a good group of friends, then you get caught up in drugs and alcohol and sex and prostitution if that was in your culture, in your community, which is why then the system is now trying to get away from all that and give people in the inner cities a chance. Not everybody, because not everybody is capable of rising above their station. But there are some people out there that want to give these kids chances that they ordinarily would not get a chance. But again, ignorance, fear comes from ignorance. Fear comes from ignorance. And so how do you deploy a weapon of war? Ignorance. And what is that fear? And so when someone doesn't understand the intricacies and the micro level purposes of proteins and cells, and don't understand perception and how the English language and even math and science can be biased and even have stories developed around it, then if there's a story around food or a story around a remedy or a story around any kind of belief system or activity or energy, then you can develop fear in a culture. And then also that also includes religion, God-fearing people, science-fearing people, food-fearing people, air-fearing people. So fear is the byproduct and accountability birthed from ignorance. Now look at all your fears. I'll wait. Okay, so if you want to deploy some aggressive psychological weapons of war, fear is probably the best way, where you don't even have to walk into somebody's house. You just embed the fear in a culture. What does that mean? You develop a person, give them like some seeds of information. They're influential. They put out that seeds of information, just like you've seen the last 12 years and all the rise of the naturopathics putting fear that the big pharma is taking down all the naturopathic doctors. Somebody planted that story somewhere. Who knows where it even originated from? Who the hell knows? Was it leaked out purposely or leaked out intentionally? Someone was given something. There's so many psychological operations. And when someone gets hands on information that they ordinarily would not have had, and it was different from the story that they were told, and then they have health issues, and they need something to blame because they don't understand why everybody has cancer, why everybody has this, and then someone said, here's a patsy. Here's a patsy, you have a remedy. The therapies that you can put your fear on and blame for all of your issues. Here's a person you can blame for all your issues and all your health issues, whatever, or your fears. Here's a political person. Here's a religious person. And so the endless patsies to program people's fear, that's a major psychological operation, and that is a weapon of war. Hearts and minds. And so when you're in fear of pain and suffering, you're in fear of evolving and changing, when you're in fear of people that you don't even know, when you're in fear of stories, someone said, oh, this person is a demon, this person is the enemy of the state, this person is this person is that. And then they believe in that, and then they don't consider the information. They boycott foods that they think are poison. And then their issues become worse. And they believe that person did something. They believe that food did something. They believed that this, bacteria did something. And so then they call it the devil. Because their whole lifestyle, belief system, body, mind, and spirit has been infiltrated and challenged. And so then the devil, when you think about it, which I figured out yesterday, sex was a forbidden fruit, Madonna whore. The original sin was sex and children, of course. Fear is accountability of ignorance, okay? And I figured out that the devil is the accountability. And when you are that deficient and you've allowed someone to invoke so much fear into your family, God-fearing, food-fearing, remedy-fearing, therapy-fearing, okay? And then now you're in deficit. And the disease and the pain is becoming even more aggressive as the body's trying to push out demons. What's demons? Things that are usurping your energy, causing your body to go to war inside. So then the devil equals accountability. We are in the days of Noah and the demons of accountability. And that's exactly what's going on. And that's what I figured. Now I understand allegory. I understand the 9 circles of hell. It looks like a fucking rectum. When you actually look at the pictures of the 9 circles of hell, that is your gut. That is your immune system. That is the very programming that will either give you longevity, or you have so many demons that are taking away your energy. And so now, when people are filled with so many demons, and they've had demons develop because of fear and trauma and deficiencies and malnutrition and war and just injuries. And we have women who are told they should be burying babies left and right. And women have been brutalized by so many different things in the past from warring factions that have used rape and brutality as a way to overtake the culture and the community. Then we've also seen, the scientists have also observed, psychologists, psychiatrists have observed what happens to kids when they observe somebody disrespecting somebody and they act out what they've seen. They've copied behaviors. They've copied belief systems. When my husband and I saw a Facebook reel, I think he showed me or I seen it, one of the two. And this guy was a father that was admonishing and scolding his child on the Facebook reel for disrespecting his mother. And everyone was like, yeah, we need more fathers like that. Yeah. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I agree with them too for the moment. For the moment, I agreed with them too. Like, yeah, there should be more fathers standing up for their wives, standing up for their girlfriends, standing up for their mothers. But then I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. Remember how humans are strategic when they want to survive. And survival can mean keeping their lifestyle in place. Just like serial killers, they figure out who they go after. They go after the weakest people. They don't go after strong because they don't want to. What is it? The path to least resistance? That's the modus operandi of a serial killer. They don't find the strongest person out there because they don't want to fight. They wouldn't win. But what do serial killers do? If they want to get their target, they find someone weak. Find someone who isn't separated from the flock. Find someone who's walking after dark, who doesn't know any better. Find someone who is desperate for attention and wants to be whatever. And so strategy. So then when you have a father or a man or even a woman defending somebody else, and it's a child. So let's say, again, that scenario, that father was defending the mother from the disrespect. Well, now that child's like pissed off, maybe feeling a little bit traumatized because the dad was really laying it into him. And it was verbally. He wasn't doing anything physically to him, but it was verbally. Now the kids be like, okay, well, so it looks like I can't disrespect mama in front of anybody or have her tell somebody. Right? Or maybe the father's seen it, maybe the mother's, who knows what. So now the kid's going to find a way, when he gets older, to figure out how to strategize his survival of taking away someone's power. Because that's what disrespect is. You're trying to take away someone's power. So they'll find a way to do it where no one is around and even strategize how to even discredit her. See, that's the strategy of humans. How do they get what they want and survive their lifestyle and even keep that lifestyle in place, no matter how you view it, in place by all means possible, even strategizing how you would go about doing it. That's the strategy of domestic violence. That's the strategy of predator. How do they keep the prey? How do they strategize keeping the prey coming in to feeding their body, mind, and spirit? And so if the mother doesn't stand up for herself, then she is showing that there are weak women out there who will not stand up for themselves, who will be caught alone at some point, who won't have a voice because someone took away their voice. And then that child has learned then to be strategic in how to get what it needs based upon what it has, the examples that it was shown. So if that mother stood up for herself and totally just shown that women can be strong, that you don't fuck with strong women. It's not to be done to. And, and if she's a representation of all women out there, because remember, your mother and your father are the representation of the women and the men out there. And if you have a weak mother, you will look for the weak women out there who you can control. If you have a strong mother, then eventually, once you break from all that trauma of a very strong mother, then you become strong. But see, the men that have the weak or the strong women, the men that have strong mothers who know her boundaries, who also don't coddle her son, that man will find a woman who is strong, who is independent, who doesn't need someone coddling him, because he's pretty independent. He can do his own dishes and wash his own fucking clothes and make his own food, but whatever. And so it's the mother who represents the women that these men go after and find, and even potentially keep victimizing, because that's what will keep happening, mitosis, until someone redirects. So, women who let men fight their battles from disrespect of their sons or other men develop sons who will get women alone, away from accountability, so they can victimize the women with no witnesses, and even also develop a story about how psycho she is, and that she has mental issues, and she has PMS, and she's had a bad life and trauma, and here's the proof, and here's this, and here's... So you see the strategy of how men who were raised with weak women, who had a father that had to defend its own wife against a son, this is the groundwork being laid for these sons to then go and find and strategize their own survival of victimizing. Because if a man has to defend his wife from his son, then a man also probably did something to his own wife and didn't like what he saw in his son. How does the son know how to go and disrespect his mother? He had to watch it from the father. You see how that shit works? I mean, yeah, he could probably see it on TV, but really, who does the son look up to the most? It's his father. Who does the daughter look up to the most? It's her mother. And her father is a representation of a man she wants to marry someday. And so, yeah, right there just shows you who taught that kid to disrespect his mother. It was his own father. And the father didn't like it, and so the father admonished his kid, but the kid was just a mirror image of him. This is why women and mothers need to learn how to stand up for themselves and not let other men fight her battles. What is she teaching her sons? To be strategic and manipulative and hide fucked up behaviors behind closed doors? And vice versa. If men allow women to fight their man's battles, then you are teaching women to pull aside their targets and disrespect the person alone with no witnesses. Well, you don't know what happens behind closed doors. He said, she said. Shit, if things happen in publicly, you can only imagine what happens privately. But even then, when something is private and you don't see what happens because you're not able to witness it because everything's done behind closed doors, then it's he said, she said. You can't prove either way. It's between them. But the kid will be the representation of what he has seen in that family. And so you'll see the outcome of familial relationships in the offspring. And so if there's a man out there who disrespects women, he's seen that already. If there's a man out there who respects women, he's obviously had great role models. You'll see it in your sons and daughters as they grow up, what the fuck you endured and allowed to happen, mothers and fathers. It takes time, but the proof is out there. You are the proof of what you experienced. And your sons and daughters and offspring are proof of what they've experienced watching you interact with your husbands or wives or your boyfriends. Because they know it happens when they do things publicly, somebody will be like intervening. So they do everything privately with no witnesses. That's what you're teaching your sons when you have to defend. See, yeah. So that's a double-edged sword when you're showing everybody on Facebook that you're showing you're admonishing your child for disrespecting mom. Well, what the fuck did you teach your son, father? Don't be a fucking hero. What the hell did you do to teach your son that. So let me tell you, you are the representation. Mother also is a representation to stand up for herself. And if she doesn't and the father has to defend, then the father also disrespected his own fucking wife. People who don't want to take accountability will find every way to escape accountability. And then you're also teaching that child to go and find the weakest person and brutalize them. I've seen the Facebook reels of that father scolding his son for disrespecting his mother, but it should have been the mother, not the father. Hold on. But it should have been the mother, not the father, to keep her son in line. Then I added to that the father already taught the son to do that. And the father didn't like the mirror. The father had the mirror put right up to his face. So now that kid is stewing and resentful and will take it out on the next woman in his life. And so he looks for the weakest woman who will take his bullshit. Now look at your Facebook. Now watch your Facebook reels how men and women both disrespect all bodies, minds, and spirits because no one in the family was held account for the violations against life. It was just too hard to parent properly. And this is why I don't do private messages or go back and forth through email with anyone, because people will brutalize each other privately. And I've had that done to me. I've read emails and allowed that interaction to go through. And it could have been a government troll just antagonized me to get innovation out, or it could have been a real person who just was taught that. But there are actually real people, like women, who were taught to brutalize other women. Like, seriously brutalize them through religion. And mocking, and just saying the most horrific words to you that warranted no kind of, you didn't do anything to them. They just didn't like what they thought you were doing, or whatever, or accused of. And so we've taught people how to brutalize each other privately. They didn't do that on public on my page, right? No, well, I blocked them, but they could have done it in the groups. No, they go find the person and purposely, verbally brutalize another human being. So you don't have to do anything to anybody, just expose them for who they are, but you have to also know your boundaries. You can't brutalize them back. And I didn't. I could have very well exposed one of them and shown what kind of trauma she went through in her lifetime, because she put it out there all over her website. But I didn't. I didn't want to destroy someone else because they were trying to destroy me. No. Now you get to see, now you understand why people do things behind closed doors, because they don't want witnesses. They don't want someone going like, oh shit, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. No, they want to purposely destroy you and brutalize you. Imagine taking that to the street. Can you imagine what kind of fucking crazy chaos would happen? So I'm glad the system has given you a venue to act out what you would have done in the street 10,000 years ago. Then those are the indicators. That's Minority Report. That's showing indicators that you have the propensity for not only violence, but if given the opportunity in private, you would destroy someone. If given the opportunity, you would purposely destroy someone. That's scary. That's your fucking world. So I do. So, because people will brutalize each other privately, hide behind fake accounts, and when you're used to taking brutalization from whoever, you won't expose the bullshit. So that's why I do everything public, because that's my personal accountability. So I will never pick the lowest hanging fruit. And I won't go back and forth with someone through email anymore. But that time I was at the lowest point with my dog fucking dying. And I'm trying to save her as these trolls, as I allowing them to brutalize me. But I allowed them because I was drawing energy from that to figure some shit out. But then I also saw what they were capable of. And one of them could have been a government troll or not. I have no, but one also is an actual person. And she put her name out there. She put her name out there on the different sites. She put her face out there, which I wanted to do. I wanted to expose her face because she was proud of what she was doing. She thought she was in the right. That's fine. I'll let you put yourself out there. But now you're exposed to what you do behind closed doors. And I'd be so afraid to be around these kind of people, because what would they, if they could do this shit publicly, imagine what they do privately to their own children. Imagine what their children are surviving. Okay? That's what we're now being shown, how brutal, how destructive There's probably not a strong enough word that I can say that would describe what some of these people are capable of, even through email, even through private message, even through their fucking websites. There is no words that would be strong enough to even describe what they could do if given the opportunity when triggered that much. That's why I'm just done with all the bullshit out there. You guys figure it out. But you're exposing yourself by how intolerant you are. And so I don't take bullshit from people. I don't destroy. I let people expose themselves and let the universe hold them accountable. Because I'm neither judge, jury, or executioner as they have deemed themselves to be to me, but I will not be that to them. I will let the universe figure it out. I will let law enforcement figure it out. But it's not up to me to hold anyone accountable for anything. When everything has to be private, you have something to hide. Transparency. Your parents taught you how to be all private and be behind closed doors and be crafty and strategic and manipulative. And so your community taught you how to brutalize the weakest link. Now it's time to hold yourself accountable. It's not killing people with kindness, and it's not brutalizing them to death. And it's about respect. But people don't know what the fuck that means. Well, shit. Go Google it. But if you don't have an example of someone respecting themselves in body, mind, and spirit, then you'll have a fucking skewed version, glitchy version of what respect is. So it's different. Again, even the word respect is different for everybody. So, whatever. So anyways, floods from raining 40 days and 40 nights like back in the days of Noah turned into climate change, sustainability, melting of the polar ice caps, sea levels rising with accelerated storms, oblivious Nephilim, children who will treat themselves to death or pass away in rising waters and ignore warning. So yeah, we are reliving history in the Bible. Okay? We are reliving that, but though we're not going to have raining in 40 days and 40 nights across the whole globe, or the whole globe is off. No, there's different areas that will be flooded out, as you've seen. I mean, if they wanted to flood out Canton, Ohio, they could. They could just make the Ohio River and all the different rivers overflow their banks. No, there's areas that will have more floods than not. You've seen it. The coasts. Remember the Forbes Future Maps of America? The coasts will be flooding. You see maybe potentially even California over time be gone at some point. Earthquakes, fires, fissures, floods, FEMA. All right, you see Libya and other places being flooded out. Different places in Indonesia being flooded out. Thailand. I'm telling you, Philippines. And so oblivious Nephilim children, because we're all kids of the Nephilim, will treat themselves to death or pass away in rising waters and ignore warnings. Okay, so, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So that's the thing. Going through what I went through with the Dr. Phil stuff and exposing things that I thought were what it was, and it wasn't. So I had to really go and redirect and evolve. It made me stronger, dealing with all the trolls out there and all the craziness and the backlash of me getting a thought process out, fumbling through how to abide by the laws of communication and claims. I'll tell you, that made me stronger. It made me stronger. So if my parents couldn't parent me anymore because I'm now, 40 something years old, it was the government that was going to regulate me, parent me. All right. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But don't become so strong you destroy other people. Remember, I'm using my powers for good, not for evil. I'm not pointing anyone out because many of you are clones of each other, repeating what each other has been doing for years. So daughters who have suffered under the rule of a brutal mother, she made you fucking strong. But you had to get to that reality on your own. Let that hate and rage fuel your innovation and survival. Only scientists and circumstances can develop strong people. To get the strength and the longevity, adults must face their own demons. Many will not face their demons. They're chasing the cures and the painkillers and the drugs and the alcohol and the crazy amount of sex. Many will not face their own demons. Maybe because their mothers were too soft and accommodating. That is also a mother's curse to her offspring, no backbone. And here's the thing, you could have a really strong, brutal mother who didn't really have brutality per se, but to others it would have been brutal because of the unorthodox way of raising us. But it also depends on the person. Can they handle the aftermath? They survived the situation, but do they survive their life and the choices from that? And could they finally get out of the situation? And when they do get out of the situation, do they go into another one, or do they go and redirect and do something different if given the opportunity and if they have the wherewithal? Okay, so there's so many factors that would allow someone to survive the hardships and the adversity and the brutality, and some don't have what it takes. Maybe they already were genetically not strong enough to deal with change and to survive even the aftermath. Okay, but as long as they have a good life and they're happy and relatively healthy, I guess, and they're achieving whatever they achieve, then that's great. But remember, there's always more. There's always somebody else that can take it further. Take what further? The survivability. They could survive. How would I say this? There's always somebody that is stronger and maybe didn't have so many issues. Well, see, I don't even know how to say this because it's, I'm just trying to figure out how to say this. Well, there's always going to be someone stronger. Not everyone's going to have the same outcome. Some will attempt to have that same outcome, but maybe they don't have it within them genetically or even socially, intellectually. They might have the intellectual capability, but they didn't have it biologically. They didn't have the strength biologically to deal with change. Maybe they didn't have it financially. There's so many factors that would not allow a person to really go beyond what would stop them and what would stop people: cancer, disease, chronic illness, discomfort, maybe even walking away from things that were important to them at the time, but maybe now it's survival, and then surviving people's perception of you and demonizing your choices. I'm telling you, man, there's so many hoops people have to jump through in order to save themselves, that when you're stopped by your politics, religion, and your science, and the perceptions of your community and all of that, and walking away when people are like, you shouldn't walk away, and that's the thing, is that can you survive changing your lifestyle? And some people can't, because they're trapped. And so there's always going to be someone who doesn't have that kind of roadblocks. And those roadblocks were never put in place even a long time ago, so they have their freedom to change and change. And so, anyways, that is also the mother's curse to her offspring, no backbone. And when men become too soft from accommodating mothers, they brutalize others to show strength, which is why domestic violence is so prolific. So you can have a father that beats up his son and makes him tough, and an accommodating mother who's like, oh my God, Johnny, Billy, Susie, I'll save you from your father, blah, blah, blah. And so then you have those two worlds of brutalization, and then someone saving them, whether it's a woman or somebody else. And then you have this entitled son or daughter who then brutalizes the world and takes advantage of people around them. Or you have someone that's so soft, a mama's boy, and there's no real father figure that's brutalizing them to make them stronger. And so then, in order for them to feel like they're a man, because we're in a very testosterone-filled culture of manly men and soy boys and all that stuff. I've said that, I know, pejorative. But then these men then become monsters because they have to make up for what was not in their, what they think is who they, I mean, that's the thing. Anytime anyone brutalizes somebody physically, whether it's a man or a woman, they're trying to take back their power. They're trying to show strength. Why do they need to show strength? Because they have to fulfill a specific persona that is favorable to the family and to himself or herself. Okay? And so, yeah, so there's so many so many factors that contribute to causing someone to be brutal to somebody else, but then also weak people attract strong people. But then when you are a strong person, whatever it is, you don't misuse your powers. And that's something that people who are strong have to also realize, is that you can't let your power of strength destroy someone else. And yeah. And so I had to learn myself how to pull back, because I'm so fucking strong that I had the power to fucking brutalize people verbally, shame them publicly, made them cry personally. And yeah. But I also was fighting for my own autonomy. Not that it's an excuse, but that's where I was. That's why I don't have anyone next to me except for my husband, who is strong enough. Let me tell you, my husband is strong enough for me. I'm strong enough for him. And we have tested each other to such degrees. We have tested each other. And we haven't gone too far where we couldn't come back. Because we have our own built-in morality clauses that we can't take shit too far. No matter, that I came from traditional, non-traditional lifestyle. He came from a traditional lifestyle. And there is still respect somewhere. Respect for the institution of marriage, respect for the person, with certain expectations that either side must learn how to temper. So we're not trying to overwhelm somebody else. Sometimes you have to be strong enough to be able to put down your boundaries in so many different areas. Okay, so anyways, yeah, women and men fail to respect themselves or each other. That disrespect gets passed down in the family, and it is accepted and even celebrated. And the system suffers under the weight of the justice system, becoming the nanny state to all adults who never were parented properly or even effectively. Yes, we all had to see brutality because we had to experience it organically, or it was contrived. Okay, because if you're not given scenarios, wartime scenarios could be even relationships between men and women and your peers. If you're not exposed to those type of wartime scenarios, when you do get exposed to it, will you survive it? And will you are you even aware that even it is happening or it's existing? See, that's why you really can't tell people stuff. They have to experience it. That's why I couldn't prove immortality to people, because I understood what was going on in my body. I felt it. I felt the microbes come to surface. I saw the dreams. I saw the weird things in my room. I've seen the fucking orbs around me when shit was going through, whatever. You saw the orbs. I haven't seen them since. But the last couple of years, you saw orbs emanating from me. And they were intelligent. But I have not seen them since. I haven't even felt really a presence or even a fear the last couple months. Since the last July. This last July, when the frequencies changed, and I was feeling like, oh my God. But I haven't seen really, maybe I might have seen something, but not. But I'll tell you, last year, those orbs, or earlier this year, the orbs they were like flying around me. Like a parasitic swarm of energy that either was trying to get in, like little spermies, or was coming out, but they were still orbiting my energy. I don't know. So we had to experience it, the brutality. And so it's like going into, practicing, when they're doing those like when you're watching, movies where they're practicing duels. So when they do go into battle, they have the practice. Well, that's exactly what your family is. It should be a practice on how to save yourself from inevitable wartime situations. Like your peers, your future husband, your future wife, even your children. And if your family is not teaching you how to survive even them, and they're giving you everything, bailing you out of everything and whatever, then you'll go out there thinking everyone's like your family, so soft. Because some people's families are pretty hard. They've had their issues. Now they're all back together again, and everyone's happy, but they had their issues. And so then what happens? Then they make each other soft again. soft, full of expectation. They let their guard down. Will they survive adversity in the future? Well, you have been conditioned to survive even your family's love and adoration. And they're always bailing you out and always being there for you. How are you going to survive the future? Because the war gets waged in so many different ways, economically, microbially. And when you're given all the remedies and the surgeries and the pills and the powders and the supplements and detoxes, you're not going to be conditioned to deal with hardship of adversity. You've been made too soft. So when the climate does change in the future, because it will, it's been projected to be, then you'll go even harder in your pills and your powders and your cannabis and your supplements and your detoxes until you're cured out of existence. That's some fucking strategic shit. So yes, we all had to see brutality because we had to experience it organically or it was contrived. But we had to see it so that way when we do experience it, we survive it. The general population is very unpredictable and there are very brutal people out there. Very brutal people. That was all the intention of a scientist. We had to experience what would eventually happen. How do we survive brutality from those who don't know what they're doing? How do we survive brutality from those who know exactly what they're doing? Either way, you must survive it, right? You have to know how to survive it and redirect it, which is why what doesn't kill you makes you fucking stronger. But you have to understand how to manage the brutal energy in your environment and in your body, and even from other people. Let me tell you, some people had it worse than you, and so while you're mad, remember, you survived whatever was done to you. Now release the trauma and redirect the energy. People who never really had to suffer in their life really will not have what it takes to deal with actual suffering. That's why they must pass away as humanely as possible, because you don't want them to suffer because they don't know how to support it. They weren't trained to support it. They've never experienced brutality. And if they did, they might do a lot of harm to somebody else, but they were never given the proper outlet for their energy. Okay, so you have people who haven't been given any other gifts besides go fight somebody or go drink alcohol or go and make fun of somebody or brutalize them through verbally. And so they never had another outlet. They didn't have academics as an outlet. They didn't have sports as an outlet. They didn't have any other outlet. And so then what do? They destroy another person. And so that's why scientists program petri dishes and people. They know what the fuck they're doing, and it's all legal. Which is why I had so many skills, so I can channel my anger through so many different venues and still be a contributing member of society and develop some fucking amazing innovation. Those who've been through war and aggressive circumstances might be able to survive this great reset if they have what it takes to deal with brutal energy releasing from their body. If not, they'll be chasing their cures and the painkillers until the body can't handle it anymore. Weak mothers who develop weak men, those men brutalize others to show their strength, especially if they have a lot of emotions and don't know how to manage their emotions. Or their fathers disrespect women. And of course, the offspring pick up on these behaviors and they repeat it. And now we have potential serial killers in the population. So now you see having children is not fun and games. And it's not a hobby and it's not a fad. And so many women out there and men are not emotionally mature enough to handle raising a balanced child in this environment. Because the parents can barely can even handle their own world. And it's both the mother and the father who are equally responsible for why they could not work together. And when you don't fully mature, there is no way you can make any adult decisions around your child. Welcome to this great reset. You get to look in the mirror. And hopefully we will learn from our mistakes the next 50 years when it's glaringly obvious on the internet. Okay? And so that's what you're seeing right now, is the repercussions of our actions. And so that's why Russell Brand is having his feet put to the fire. Because remember, what I did with the whole J world, they used the media on me. Absolutely. That was the new way of regulating people. I didn't know, myself and maybe others, the whole cancel culture. was the new war tactic of regulating people. Why is it war tactic? Because evolution, adaptation, it's war. People resist, people whatever, and then you get war. Who's right, who's wrong? Well, the government gave you your life. They gave you your belief system. They gave you the whole infrastructure that you're living with right now, and they also are the ones that are going to change it. So private versus public. I watched a video that was questioning and discussing the different venues like YouTube, the revenue streams, the partnerships, the ad campaigns, whether or not YouTube and other platforms that you can monetize, was it ethical for them to end the partnerships based on an allegation? Well, there was some proof. It wasn't just allegation. There was some proof that he did accost a lady, even though it wasn't like super graphic. It just showed that he can just walk right up to a chick and say stuff, and also put his hands and kiss her without any permission. Okay, so that was that evidence, and then other people coming forward through the the last how many years that he worked with that said that he done or did not do something or whatever, and even what he has said about certain situations. Okay, I've had everything that I've said be repeated back to me through articles the last 7 years. Not so much lately, but the last 7 years I've had articles that have parroted what I've said, maybe even taken out of context. Okay, so private versus public. So if somebody, a private entity who has a reputation to uphold, who, is part of the government because we all paying taxes, we're all part of the government, but if they have a reputation to uphold, they have community standards, and there has been shown proof, even though it may not hold up in a court of law as something that was illegal, but it showed then the capability that it could go further if it's behind closed doors. Okay? Then they have the right to disable your monetization, just like my YouTube. I can't monetize my YouTube. I already have a warning on my YouTube because of my anti-V stance. I'm fine with that. They didn't deplatform me. I just can't make money off of these evolutionary thought processes that strategizes survival when the intention out there is completely opposite, because we're in a type of regulation. Okay? And I get it. I have other venues. I mean, I wrote a book. You can buy it or not. I'm not selling t-shirts because I'm not trying to cheapen this shit. Okay? And I keep developing myself, and I'm married, so I have already a revenue stream that I've cultivated the last 12 years. And then later on down the road, I'll find something else to do once this has been exhausted. And it's not going to make money off of capitalizing on fear. It's not going to make money on capitalizing on the destruction of my fellow man, though the government will allow you to do that through its specific venues. But I'm not going to make money off of capitalizing on destroying people. Okay? So private versus public. You hear me cough out. Yeah, this is my immune system working. Private versus public. Isn't one of the same. Monetizing your influential beliefs must be aligned with the state. Otherwise, strategize your output. Private and public does not want to pay you for a conflict of interest unless you develop your own platform. And there are still community standards even with the domains. So I have a domain called Wix that allows me to platform my information. But if I had said something that would really be egregious and mischaracterizing and misinformation, according to the mainstream, even Wix could say, well, we are not allowing you to move forward with your platform because it goes against even their community standards. Okay? So, I mean, the FTC is one layer of saying you can't say these type of things on your platform. But if I even took it a step further and been even more extreme, then even Wix, who's based out of Israel, okay, could deplatform me. I know the layers of it. It's all the layers of regulation is built into everything that you ever touch and communicate through. You have to understand the game that's being played, okay? And there are still community standards, even with the domain names, and even the Federal Trade Commission can regulate what you say based on what you're promoting or selling. Once you veer away from the mainstream, right? Remember, money equals life. Demonetization is take away life. Demon equals energy usurping your life force. That's why I say when you release the demons, which I have in my book, and you're eating food, then you're not having those little energies taking away your life force, because that's the aging process. That's cancer, disease, and chronic illness. It's harboring a demon that is usurping your life force. If you become a demon to the state can demonetize you in the traditional venues. That's fine to be critical of the state. But then, quid pro quo, the state has the power to be critical of you. And there might be a lot of skeletons in the closet. And there were for Russell Brand. Maybe they were for me with what I was talking about and doing and whatever. Not that I had skeletons per se, but they used my own words against me, and they held the law as far as making claims. And I had to change the way I did stuff. So I learned what they wanted me to do as far as making claims, because you really can't make claims when you can't guarantee someone relief, and it's all based upon biochemistry, and you don't know their biochemistry, their history. So then you introduce what it is that you're doing and not guarantee you're going to get relief, or, you know, you're not trying to harm anyone. You have to feed the energy, but there's still no guarantee that you're going to take away their pain. And you don't want to promote pain, because that's not what the system wants you to promote. You can't make money off of someone suffering. You really can't. And who's to say how much they should suffer or who takes away the suffering? That's why you can't recommend cures and or say that they're not going to suffer, because you can't guarantee that. They're going to have to be the one to figure out how much they can handle. And if they can't handle it, then they have to go see a doctor to figure out how to do that. And again, so you can only represent your world and what you have done, and people will figure out how they can incorporate their world and your world together. All right? And so when you do become that influential, you must be responsible for what you are saying. No absolutes. Like they said, don't say absolutes, Jillian. That was what the FTC was saying. No fucking absolutes. Give people a way out. Don't ambush them with your politics. And I was ambushing people with my politics. I know what I did, because that's the track that I was on back then, was take away the pain. But when you take away someone's pain 100%, then they're dead. But that's not what I was doing. And salt isn't poison, but you can't, again, promise something that you can't guarantee. Ambush politics will never win, because that's no different than kicking down the door and destroying everything. And so I think right now the system is testing people to see how far they can go and how you would react and see what you're capable of. And that's right now what's going on with everything, the fear campaigns, all the different articles, and the wars, and the articles and the wars, and even the climate change. They're stretching your capacity, so they know how far they can take somebody to the brink before they break, or they break the person. Who's they? Well, the system, your friends and your family. Your friends and family are the system, reacting to the system. And so some of your friends and family are taking you to right to the brink, because some of you are breaking. Some people are not even surviving. They're dying from all of their activism. Go look at those who've died recently, and even died in the last 20 years. The system took them to the brink, and they couldn't survive it. They couldn't survive their friends, their family, their politics, religion, or science. And so they broke the person, but the person broke themselves. But remember, they were radicalized into their politics, religion, and science at their choice, because that was the culture. That's been the culture ever since 1776. Revolution, revolution, revolution. Evolution, evolution, revolution. It's always a war. War of resistance. That's evolution. That's innovation. And it's brutal. But again, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Just know how to channel that energy. Okay? So just so you know, the world is not a friendly place. So many predators are everywhere. And so you have to strategize, because predators find the weakest people out there and they prey on them. And so if you don't get trained at home to protect yourself, even from your own family, then yeah, you won't survive. Your own family could be a training ground on how to survive the bullshit out there. And you're lucky if your own family worked against you, because then you learn how to work against them and survive, and then recognize that kind of predatory behaviors in other people. But you have to recognize what predatory, because you could be 20 years in a predatory relationship that's actually mean to you, and when someone is so nice to you, that's another predatory tactic. But hey, if it works and everyone is happy and people are doing whatever, and everyone is in consent, and no one is like victimizing someone, not based upon perception, okay, then who cares? But some people can be very predatory and they're so nice to you. But how is that? Oh shit. How is that? Because you want them to be like you, and they won't. And then they'll try to have you be like them. But how do they get to you? Instead of resisting you, what do? They parrot, they mimic everything you say. In the meantime, they're not really changing. They'll give you an inch. So you think, okay, you're making headway, but they're not. But you're not. And then they go and then try to have you assimilate to what they're doing. And there's tactics. There's so many ways to wage war. Gifting someone to death. Love bombing them to death. And when you want someone to change, like you really want to see someone like you to change and they're not and they're resisting and they're actively trying to have you assimilate to whatever they're doing, that's another predator in a different way. Not maybe in the same way like something illegal or brutal, but love can also be predatory because then who is influencing who? Who is trying to convert who? And then it becomes a nice war of resistance, but then that's still a war. Oh, shit. So there's different levels of predatory. It just depends on what your intention is, what your expectation is, where you want to go, where you want to take it. Because all of a sudden one day you have an idea and all of a sudden now it's not your idea. Now you're part of their fucking world. You are now a minion to what they want and what they're doing. And they're not doing anything at all that you're doing because they had no intention. They're just trying to get you into their world and use your resources to uplift whatever they're doing. That's also a very strategic predatory tactic of disarming you from your own belief system. See? And I've been around this shit for the last 11 years. Of course, the last 7 years. And I've had so many different relationships with different people around the J world that I've experienced it all. That's why I'm pretty much alone. Okay? That's why I don't work with anybody. I work with my husband because we're in contractual respect, love relationship, and that's about it. Survival. Everything else, your eyes are on your own. You'll figure it out. First, you have to recognize how predators operate. Second, you have to figure out your escape plan. And second of all, not all predators are mean. Some will kill you with kindness, and they could kill you with love or be the opposite of what you had before, but you need to experience it. Okay? So if you don't really have any purpose or intention, and you're just kind of melding in with somebody else, that's great. If that's what you want to do, that's survival, and everyone has their place, and if that's what makes you happy, go for it. But if you have a plan, you have a purpose, you have a platform, and someone is killing you with kindness, and they're not really assimilating to you, but they're trying to have you assimilate to them, yeah, you've had to plan your exit strategy. You have to plan it very well. And you can't look like the bad guy. And you have to explain yourself. So you'll never know it until you experience it. And I've experienced it several times. And you've seen it. You've seen me disengage from so many different people the last 7 fucking years. Well, there's a reason why. That's why you have to learn all your different lessons. And you hope you survive them. That's why you must understand how to leave situations as soon as you realize it's out of your hands and you can't convert them, right? And they're not assimilating to you. So, but that's another experience, a tool in your belt, and then you'll recognize the world for what it is. That's when you'd rather be alone or around one person who you trust for the most part. And so, since I'm in a contractual relationship with my husband of survival, we both find ways to meet each other's needs without completely destroying ourselves and each other. Okay, and that was a dance that had to be done the last 12 years because our anniversary is coming up. Okay, and so, but that was a dance that needed to be done, and we had to learn how to have a relationship with each other, even amidst all these changes that we've been dealing with the last 7 years. And so I want you to know, I know I come off, remember yesterday I was saying, oh my God, I'm ashamed of you that you can't handle food and you're demonizing food. I sound like a parent, I know. I come off as snarky, shaming, and even traitorous to the community I used to belong to. Yeah, the conspiracy world. Yeah, I spent 12 years deprogramming from countless wars of perception. I invested my money, my time, even almost lost my marriage, trying to figure out how to save myself and share the information, and also figure out who the enemy is. Let me save yourself, because I was dealing with a disease called PMDD and completely crazy ass hormones and demons within, trauma and other things that it definitely permeated my marriage. It triggered me, allowing the demons to just antagonize me, even in my own home. And it was just a mess for many fucking years. Okay? So I invested my money, my time, even almost lost my marriage, trying to figure out how to save myself and share the information, and also figure out who the enemy is. I even had to come to terms with who I thought the enemy was for many years. And since I consciously only remember at least the last 49 years, there was and is a larger agenda that was and is bigger than my lifetime, even my parents' lifetime. It wasn't even about me per se. It wasn't even about saving the world, because that's what people do when they're like trying to project that they're trying to, save, or they're trying to do change. It's because they're trying to save the world. Well, I mean, the government's trying to save the world too, but the government has years and years and years of history and data, and you really don't. You just have perception and whatever they gave you. And so, we're in a biblical agenda. We are in a war of the old world and the new world. And so many strategies of war have been deployed and are actively being deployed. And so now, instead of relying on mankind, who has filtered every single perception through history and their own shortcomings and deficiencies, it is the rise of the machines who are programmed to evolve. And these machines have been programmed to look for keywords, algorithms, even behaviors. When I'm going too fast and going and editing my posts, I'm only allowed to do that for so long before it says you're going too fast, because it's recognizing the frequencies of my editing and even how fast I'm moving. And so that shows the machine that I am aggressive and there's a lot of energy, and then they call it spamming, okay? And so then you have to really slow down your frequency so it doesn't trigger the algorithms, the machines that were programmed to look for extremism. Okay? And so, sometimes you saw me where I would have like post after post and be like so many, and I'd even edit so much. And so sometimes when I edit so much and it says, oh, you're going too fast or something, and then I have to go and delete that whole post and repost it with all the edits. And so the strategy isn't how to get around that, but then it's warning you keep doing this, you'll be on timeout for 24 hours. And that's what happened a couple times, I think maybe like a few months ago, that I had so much energy and so many ideas and so many thoughts, even regardless of what I said, it was the frequency that it was picking up on. So the machines are now even triggering to pick up on your frequency. Not even just your frequency and what you're saying, but frequency is what it's picking up on, okay? And so it is the rise of the machines. It is the binary arguments and the mutually assured destruction when you enter into war beliefs and perception with your permission. Those are the different types of techniques in war. They get embedded into your culture. Okay, all the war, Satan versus Jesus, right? Your religion and your science, and most of all your politics. It's very easy to get lost in perception and even paint a picture that may or may not be so. And even if it is so, does it even matter? What can you prove in a court of law? What did you know? What did they know? And when did they know it? And even if you had knowledge of it, or if they had knowledge of it, what could have been done anyways? The deed has been done. But people want to stop it from happening again. When you're not aware of your own foibles, it will always happen again. Someone will always have to regulate you and your culture and your lifestyle and your belief system. So if you don't want history to keep repeating, stop repeating history. And so what's my role in this? Okay, well, they definitely stopped repeating history in my family. I was adopted. They programmed me to be not relying on family and even repeating the traditions. I did everything the opposite. Obviously, I'm adopted. Well, not obviously. Well, I am adopted. My mother intended for me and my sibling not to rely on family to get by. Although I'm in contact with my sister now more than before. So that's definitely changed. I'm very happy with that. But that took a lot of years of her own stuff to figure out, and the groundwork that I laid a long time ago by apologizing for how I was when I was in survival mode, and figure out the root cause of what drew us apart, which was the psychological operations. But that was all part of the programming. And so now we finally figured out, I was able to really say some stuff not too long ago, and we're good. I'm not trying to be like, you know, like all sister. I mean, no. We'll be more in contact more than not, but she has her life, I have my life, and we'll catch up every so often. But no, this is not like, okay, now I'm going to go move in with her. No, I'm married and she's married, or yeah. And so that's the thing. Okay. And so we figured out, now we've survived all the situations, the aftermath of all the programming and the choices we made from that aftermath. And now we're into our prospective futures. We've broken the fucking spell. Now it's time to go and redefine ourselves in whatever manner we do. Okay. And so although I am in contact with my sister now more than before, we still have to take care of ourselves and deal with what we have chosen for ourselves. We still must fight our own battles. And our mother equipped us very well to survive what would have been already happened given the world we live in. Okay, so it was inevitable that we're going to deal with relationships, sex relationships, peer relationships, academic relationships, occupational relationships. And there's people who will brutalize you for your belief systems. And you may say something out of turn and someone will think that violence is the only answer to shut you up. Remember, I went to that camp, that summer camp that was out of EPA, East Palo Alto. And this chick, she came from Daly City, whatever, and her mom put her in that camp with me, and she was one part of the gang people, and I said something out of turn, and she swung me around by my hair and shut me the fuck up. And then after that was done, and we were all hanging out together because of what the fuck, I mean, this was just crazy. I didn't even tell my mother what happened, but we were sitting there, we were on the top of these bleachers, and I was so angry, I was so full of rage, because she did that. and I thought to myself, I could push her down these bleachers. But I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Okay? And so that's the thing. Even though someone has brutalized you, whether it's a peer or somebody else, when you want to go and get back at them or get back at somebody else who represents them, then it shows you don't have control over the trauma, things that are going to happen. That you're when you're so reactive and you hurt somebody because somebody has hurt you before, that's some demons. And I didn't push her down the bleachers. That's when you consciously, when you think about, because that person hurt you, and you don't do that, and you don't get back at them like that. That's an amazing amount of control, even as a fucking child. Remember, we were under programming as children. And having another peer brutalize you like that. Oh my God. That could have gone in such a different direction. That moment in time could have been a turning point of what my future would have been. If she would have died from being pushed down. But that didn't even happen. But it crossed my mind. Okay? That's what trauma can do to people. It can make them think about if they should do that just to get retribution. But when you know it's not worth it, and it's not who you are, that moment I chose who to be at that moment. I chose who I was at that moment. Okay? All right. That's some crazy shit. Fuck. I remember that camp was such a crazy camp. That had the rich, because it's East Palo Alto, you had the questionable people. But it was near all the biotech firms in Palo Alto. So my dad could then pick us up when he was working at some biotech company and take us home. So he'd drop us off in the morning and pick us up. And if there was some kind of holiday that they didn't work, then we'd go to work with Dad. And we'd just play with whatever, a computer or read books or something. And that was my mother's summer off. Because she didn't want to deal with us during the summer, so it was my dad's turn to take care of us, and that would be summer camp or going to work with him. All right. And so, we still must fight our own battles, and our mother equipped us very well to survive what would have already happened given the world we live in. And so, if you experience some version of what might happen in the future and learned how to survive it and make the choice not to make it worse and strategize, your chance of survival in the future when faced with major adversity will be far greater. You've already proven that you could survive extremely aggressive situations. And yes, being beat up by your own fucking peer, or not beat up, but swung around by your hair, or jumped in a shelter because you're cute. Oh yeah, when you can survive all that and still not want to hurt somebody else, fuck. You can do anything. And so I speak to the survivors out there who beat the fucking odds, even if it wasn't televised. Okay? I'm talking to the ones who have been either strengthened by scientists or circumstances, and you just need a very light blueprint on how to face more adversity and strategize your survival. Because you already proved you could survive the situation, whether it was for a year, 20 years, or even 5 fucking years. The fact that you are alive says that you faced some kind of adversity, and you might have a chance to face the future adversity, and also what's going on right now. And so many of the right-wing people are in the conspiracy world because they felt something was not correct. Trigger them into reaction. That was purposely built into the arguments to make people stronger. You have those gifts of survival. How you're going to use them? Well, that's why I come off traitorous. It's not that I'm trying to undermine any of you in the conspiracy world, even in the right-left wing world, right? I'm asking you to look for the gifts that were given to you through adversity and survive this. Humanity needs your strength, not your weaknesses, because you probably have a better chance than those who have no idea what's going on. And you know people out there who have no idea what the fuck's going on. They have no idea. They think they know what's going on, but you see them just doing the traditions. Here, buy an herb, buy a concoction. You know, I'm going to my birthday party. Here, we're having parties everywhere, left and right. Who cares, right? The world's ending, but who gives a fuck? They're going to party their way out the door. Okay, fine. So you have a better chance. You've been exposed to this information for years. You have the blueprint and the playbook. Act accordingly. That's why I'm saying the Northeast could fare better than California and Florida. Stronger stock of people, Appalachian country folk who have the ability to adapt and evolve, could fare better than those who have a lot of issues, who don't know what's going on right now. Maybe the other side was given a great life for many years, like those that don't know what's going on and they're all just still in their traditions and whatever, and they have their baubles and their beauty and all their fame and fortune and all that stuff. And so they were given a great life, but now the tables have turned. Now the poles have shifted. Survive it. Those who've been given the gifts of survival, regardless of where you got them and where you are geologically, and I will tell you, or geographically, geologically, what do you mean geologically? Geographically, but whatever. And I will tell you, the black culture has been under so much duress for hundreds of years. They have the strength to survive this, but it does take strategy. The country folk have been under duress for many years and have been laughed at, called so many names. They have the strength to survive. They have the food. They have the genes. Will they resist themselves out of existence? You have the meat, milk, cheese, and eggs, and fruits and vegetables. You have the strength of like a million horses. I mean, you have the history of war. Now it's time to evolve and save yourself, okay? There's a method to all the madness, but you must first get out of your own way, okay? So now this is who I'm talking to as far as people who work for the state. And you know who works for the state because they're selling you absolution. Politics, religion, and science. All the remedies. When you do not give people the other story or a way out or another choice, the state will regulate you or allow you to conduct business because your business of remedies and medical and politics, religion, science, and resistance, all right, is in the interest of the state. If you do not give people a way out, the state will allow you to conduct your business that is in the interest of the state within reason. If you give people another way, another choice, aside from the obvious herbs and remedies, the state will regulate you for a reason. Remember me, I gave you guys another way besides herbs and extracts. It was the J world, the J juice, fermented cabbage. Okay? And they regulated the shit out of me. Abso-fucking-lutely. The state will make it harder for those who are already in deficit to redirect. When you sell remedies, you work for the state. Now look at your friends selling you protection and remedies or recommending them. They work for the state. That's why you play this shit very carefully. You are acting out the resources deployed more than 50 years ago to take down your friends and you see those who sell you remedies. They don't have what it takes to survive, or they wouldn't be selling you a remedy. They are just projecting their own weaknesses, and you bought it hook, line, and sinker if you buy into their protection. Okay, so when they're selling you absolution, that death is great, everything is great with death, just go to the other side, go play with the other, go to Pleiades, go ascend to whatever the hell. That was a religion of absolution to justify and make you feel comfortable dying because you're in that much deficit. You can't handle the pain, you can't handle the food, obviously, and you have to play with your hormones and do the ayahuasca and do all the drum circles and wear your outfits and make you look like some kind of savior, Gaia, mother, whatever. And then birds of a feather flock to fucking together. This is why I know many of you do not understand my information. But how can you? You're too busy chasing the cures and absolution. And you're afraid of everything. Afraid of the food, afraid of the water, afraid of the air, afraid of everything. And that is projected through your politics, through your religions, and your science dogmas. All right? And so then you have to realize the agents of the state are the weak people who can't handle strength, who can't handle adversity, who can't handle change. The state employed and deployed the weakest link in your community to try to convert people to be weak. And I'm telling you, go look at your Facebook now. It's happening. The train's left a station. People are so fucking trapped in their weaknesses and so invested in their politics, in their religion, in their science. You have to watch it happen. But I'm not fooled by those of you who are blowing smoke on my ass. I get what you're saying, Jillian, and you're selling remedies to your friends. You can't handle any kind of pain. You're trying to intellectualize what the state's trying to do, and as you are selling your friends into fear of COVID and fear of flu and fear of everything else, I know what you're doing. I don't really believe you're going to be able to handle this. I don't even know if you're going to even survive this. And you can tell when people are so malnourished and so skinny and they're afraid of food, they're on their diets, they have a bunch of children, how the fuck are they going to survive? They don't have anything to them. Survival requires currency, not so much bank currency, but actual biological protein currency. You have to have substance to you. You can't be afraid of food. But when you're that much in deficit and you are all about your spirituality and your science and all of your religion and your politics, and you have a slew of children and you're making money hand over fist, you ain't giving that shit up. You're trapped. And so we'll see what happens. But I'll tell you, it takes substance. It takes fat. It takes amino acids, fatty acids, amino acids, pro-hormones or vitamins, but not through the supplements, and minerals, electrolytes, trace minerals. And you can't buy that in a supplement form, because how do you know how to fucking regulate that if your immune system is already shot anyways and you already compromised it from your years and years of practicing pain mitigation and diets? And so the state deployed the weakest people to go out and convert everyone to be weak, even a strong person who doesn't have it up here mentally. That's how the state has taken people down, through the weak people and their friends and family. And so if you're selling any version of that, they'll allow you to operate and conduct business, and they will lay the red carpet out on some level. Those are like, oh shit, you don't have to die someday and get away from all that. They'll regulate you on some level, but you still can get your piece out, but you can't make money off that. Oh, I understand. That's fine. I'm not looking to get rich. I don't care. I just want to speak to those who have it what it takes to handle this, because I fucking need my humans around me, because we need humans around. We need the strong, not the weakest ones, but we need strong ones. And I can't be the one to say, well, you're weak and you're strong. So you have to be able to determine that, but I'll show you the indicators of who probably will not survive this great reset. Oh, that's so presumptuous of you. The first step is recognizing why it is you can't handle pain and food. If you can't even recognize that, then sorry. I hope you have a good life. All right, so that's it. That's all I'm going to say. But look around you now. Look at who's in fear. Birds of a feather flock together.